Hey guys, welcome back to another video. In this video, I'm going to be putting together a pretty simple background from my mate Jason over at the Gecko Effect. So Jason and I have been doing a few little trades and swaps here and there for enclosures and handiworks and all sorts of stuff going on. And one of the trades that we did together was an enclosure swap for a background build. And this particular background was for his chameleon geckos. And I was really stoked with how this one actually turned out. And after seeing it in the enclosure, it looked really, really good. I did this build a little while ago, so things might look a little bit different here and there, but in saying that, I hope you guys really enjoy the video. And yeah, don't forget to subscribe and give us a comment and a like down below.
So like usual, I always start out all of my builds with this bastion foam. It seems to be a little bit harder to get these days, so if you do find it and you are into a build, make sure you grab a whole bunch of it so you don't run out. This particular enclosure has got internal dimensions of about 580mm by 580mm. So I'm working with the foam and cutting it a little bit smaller than that just to allow for enough tile pointing to wrap around the edges and seal it in nicely. I didn't exactly have a straight edge on hand, so this little trolley had to be the ruler of choice, should we say. But yeah, nothing a good steak knife won't get through. Jason's absolutely obsessed with these little geckos, so to be able to kind of put a project together with him and build something for these little geckos that he loves so dearly was really cool. It's always a bit of fun making some of these things for some friends too, and I've got another enclosure I've got a line up for some stage for either a pink tongue or a anglehead dragon actually, so to go towards another friend. A little tip for anybody that's getting into a few backgrounds these days, all those little offcuts of foam, make sure you save them because you're always going to use them on a future project. I quite literally have a tub of, God knows how many pieces of little offcuts, and sometimes I even just glue them all together to make another big block of foam again, and then I can carve that into some sort of rock. So this enclosure is going to consist of a couple of main cracks. I'm kind of going to go for like big rocks, should we say. I wasn't trying to make this really detailed as such. I just wanted it to kind of be a bit of a simple background just to kind of really blend into the back of the enclosure, because you're going to be looking at a lot of vertical branches and such in the foreground of this particular enclosure. So I was kind of working on the premise of maybe like two large main cracks that Jason could maybe play around with. Maybe you could try to put some moss in there just to, you know, have a little bit of fun with it as such. Now for my favourite glue to stick this all together, the good old Gorilla Glue. This stuff kind of expands a little bit like foam too, but it dries really rock solid and it's perfect for melting these bits of foam together. I have used other things like silicone in the past, and silicone's good if you're adhering the foam to glass in particular. I do like that bond that it creates, but foam to foam, I really like doing the Gorilla Glue, and for bigger stuff I also like to add some wooden skewers or bamboo skewers through it as well. Now, as I said, this was going to be a bit more of a simpler background, so for anybody that's trying out their first background at home, maybe this is something similar to what you want to try. Of course, you can always advance your skills and go a little bit more detailed down the line, but it's a good one to kind of start off with. Now, this background, it is going to look pretty simple when I'm kind of first stacking it all together, but it will improve as I go here. So, it does come out a lot more when I do a little bit of carving, a little bit of heat gun work, and also all the final paint job. Told you scrap off cuts come in handy. So out comes the trusty foam cutter. Man, this thing's had an absolute workout, but for the $27 odd I think I paid on eBay for this thing, it's been absolutely worth its weight in gold. I'm so glad that I haven't kind of continued that metal wire wheel mess of foam. That thing was an absolute nightmare. I mean, it's good for some good detail and things, but man, if you want to be sucking up foam with a vacuum for the rest of your life, well, that's the way for you, because these things, these wire cutters, these are such a big improvement on the wire wheel. And look, you can always detail it up with a soldering iron or even a little Dremel or something afterwards, just like I'm doing now. Another reason that roughing up the surface of your foam is really beneficial is not only does it give it a hell of a lot more texture, but it also allows a little bit more surface area for the pointing to actually bite into and adhere to. Now, it already does a really good job of it, but in saying that, you can always improve it, right? And that might just make it last a lot longer than what it would have if it was just on a smooth, flat surface. It's a very simple but very painstakingly painful technique, and I don't recommend doing this on really cold days where your soldering iron doesn't want to keep its heat, and that was the case on this particular day. I think I had to stop a few times for it to actually be able to warm up again. So I got out the trusty Dunlop tile pointing. This stuff's an absolute bargain. You get 10 litres of it for $39 or 10 kilos. I can't exactly remember how they weigh it. But yeah, whack this together with a bunch of grey oxide. Oh, I forget the name of it. It's like a blue metal oxide or something they call it. But yeah, 3 coats of this tends to do the job of making your background really nice and firm, and also allows a little bit for you to be able to kind of work the texture and kind of get it into everything. First layer, as always, goes on a little thinner than the last two, but yeah, you can kind of judge it with how much you want to do it and how thick you want to make it. And a little background like this with little geckos, I don't get too worried about it, but I just did 3 decent little coats on it. I think if you're going to be doing some larger monitors or something like that, you'd want to be able to make it a little bit thicker, so maybe a good 4 or 5 or even 6 coats would be ideal. And here you can see I'm just kind of weathering that down by doing a bunch of green washes and a bunch of black washes too. I like to do a few of these to really get it to stick to the pointing. It doesn't seem to absorb the colour as quickly as other products that other people use. Like a lot of guys that use grout say that the colour gets into it really easy. You can see here how much it's changed since the last clip when it was all nice and wet. But here I'm just doing a little bit of edge highlighting with a bit of light coloured paints like light browns, light whites, that sort of stuff. Here you can see a little bit of a close-up on the final product. I reckon it came out quite good. I kind of like the streakiness to it. I don't mind doing a bit of like the paintbrush strokes, and if it's kind of like a bit of a sandstone-y type background, because sandstone's really layered, so I kind of like that texture to be in there. I was quite happy with how the colours came out on this, and Jason was pretty stoked too, as you're going to see. He built an absolute awesome enclosure that we'll get a look at in a second. So here's a bit of a peek at the enclosure in all of its glory, and I had to leave Jason's handle in there, so all of you guys go and give him a follow over on there at the Gecko Effect over on Instagram. But yeah, you can see how well that background just makes all the little foreground accentuations just pop. It's an awesome little PVC enclosure done up by TNR Reptiles, and these guys have actually done quite a few good PVC enclosures. I think Jason's got a couple of them now. But man, doesn't that look good in there? I think for now Jason's just whacked some sphagnum moss in that crack. And here you can see one of the little happy inhabitants. These guys are such stunning little geckos and really not common in the Australian reptile hobby, but Jason's kind of working up a little army slowly, so I reckon these guys might be, hopefully, in a few higher numbers soon enough. Man, aren't they stunning and aren't they unique? It's so cool seeing these guys hunt vertically from these branches. As per this little guy here, just giving us the perfect show. But that background, man, I reckon that looks absolutely mint in there, and I'm glad to have been able to give Jason a hand doing it, and yeah, see these little guys in their happy home.
How good does Jason's enclosure look? I reckon it looks absolutely fantastic with those upright branches for the chameleon geckos. The background just blends in nice and seamlessly. It really came together really well in my opinion. I really dig those PVC enclosures as well. I'm not sure if it's necessarily my personal taste, but I think it really suits his room. So guys, really hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to drop it a comment down below, give me a like, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more Aussie reptile related content, and also consider signing up to Patreon if you want to. You get early access to videos, which is pretty cool, and it costs as little as $1 a month, and it goes a long way with me keeping the lights on here and also running the collection. Alright guys, until next time, take it easy.